Yes, it's a real classy jacket.
Like I'm supposed to, it's supposed to be good for 3 years.
I think we should start, don't you?
Well,
We start on time.
I need to know if Judy, if not Judy, if Sally's starting.
We'll see.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Pleffner, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of the Cape Cod area. Welcome to our Candidates Forum. Tonight we will pose the audience's questions to the candidates for Precinct 12 and for the school committee. We appreciate you for showing up and for you participating in democracy, and I will turn it over to our moderator, Rosemary Shields, who is a member from Harwich.
Good evening. As you heard, I'm Rosemary Shields, and I want to welcome all of you to the Candidates Forum for the town of Barnstable for the Office of Town Council for Precinct 12. I am a member of the League of Women Voters from Harwich, and that being from Harwich, I have no personal stake in the outcome of this election per the League's rules on moderators. So I don't have a horse in this race. Okay, the League is a nonpartisan activist grassroots organization for women and men, which encourages informed and active participation in government. This forum is part of the League's ongoing voter education efforts to help voters make informed decisions for the upcoming November 4th election. We hope that over the course of this program, you will learn about the candidates and what they hope to do for Barnstable. So let me introduce the candidates. They are Nelson Andrews, Megan Mort, and Barry Scheingold. I will start this evening by explaining some procedures of the forum, which each candidate received ahead of time. Candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 1.5 minutes for a closing statement. Opening statements will be given in alphabetical order, and then closing statements will be done in reverse alphabetical order. The timekeepers are sitting in the first row. When there is a half minute left on your speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a 30-second card indicating that you have 30 seconds to answer. Please wrap up by finishing your sentence when you see the stop card. If you continue speaking beyond a sentence after the stop card is held up, I will say thank you and move on to the next speaker. Personal references about candidates are out of order. We stick to the issues. This forum is being recorded and will be rebroadcast several times on the Barnstable Government Access Station and shown on Xfinity channels 8, 1070, 1072, as well on their YouTube channel. And so now I'd like to address the audience. Hi, audience. Please turn off your cell phones or any beeping devices now. As we request that you treat all candidates fairly, please remain quiet throughout the forum. No clapping or cheering or calling out, with the exception that after all their closing statements, you may clap for all the candidates if you wish. You are encouraged to submit questions for the candidates on the provided index cards. Questions must be addressed to all candidates and must apply to issues or qualifications for the town council. Raise your hand if you'd like another index card or have your question collected. A league member will review the questions for legibility, clarity, applicability to all candidates. I will read as many questions as time allows, sometimes combining similar questions, striving to cover a variety of topics. So, let's begin the candidates forum. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and we will begin in alphabetical order. So, Nelson Andrews, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, Winiki Suk Ntesuis, Nelson Andrews Jr. I said, greetings all. My name is Nelson John Andrews Jr., and I'm honored to sit before you as a candidate for Barnstable Town Council, Precinct 12. I was raised in Mashpee and later moved to Marston's Mills with my family. My wife Susan and I are blessed with 2 amazing sons. One is a senior at Barnstable High School and is also a high honor student, and the other is a sophomore at Cornell University and was also a high honor student in Barnstable as well. Like so many of you, I care deeply about the future of our community because this is home. If elected, I would be the only second Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Council member to ever serve on Barnstable Town Council, bringing a new voice, a fresh perspective, and a deep commitment to service. I bring over 20 years of experience in emergency management and public service, serving at the federal, state, local, and also tribal levels. I recently served on tribal council as well for the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. And I've also served as a FEMA regional tribal liaison and also as the tribal government official on FEMA's National Advisory Council. So have done a lot with federal service, local, state, and tribal as well. As the first emergency management director for the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, I was able to secure funding in the millions of dollars and also work on national level policy. So I was chairman of the United South and Eastern Tribes Homeland Security Emergency Services Committee, where we addressed Congress. In closing, our community faces real challenges, protecting our coastlines and preparing for climate impacts, addressing housing and affordability for working families, ensuring public safety and emergency preparedness, and supporting small businesses and strengthening our local economy. I'm running because I believe Barnstable deserves leadership that is proven, practical, and people-focused. Leadership that listens, collaborates, and delivers results. Good
Thank you.
competition.
Thank you so much. Okay, Megan Mort.
Hello. My name is Megan Mort. I'm 41 years old. I'm a lifelong resident of Marston's Mills, a wife, a mom to an 8-year-old boy, and a registered nurse at Cape Cod Hospital. Like many people in this community, I've worked hard for everything I have. I know what it feels like to be a homeless teen, work 2 to 3 jobs at a time, and struggle to simply stay safe. I know what it means to juggle bills, raise a family, and still show up for work every day because people are counting on you. I became a nurse because I believe in caring for people, not just when it's easy, but also when it's hard. My career in healthcare has taught me how to stay calm under pressure, problem solve, and advocate for those who may otherwise go unheard. These are the same values I intend to bring to our local government. When I worked through the pandemic, I saw what real strength looks like. It wasn't found in headlines. It was in our neighbors checking in on each other. That's who we are, and when we support each other, our community doesn't just survive, it thrives. I've served on the Barnstable Housing Committee, the Barnstable Human Services Committee, and the Local Comprehensive Planning Committee because I believe that the voices of working families need to be heard. They need to be at the table. The voices of a community's retail and healthcare workers, the renters, the blue-collar lifeblood of this community need to be heard. I've seen firsthand how deeply connected all of our challenges are. Success in life, and especially in our town, depends on 3 things: a stable job, housing, and reliable transportation. It's like a 3-legged stool. If one leg is broken, the others can't stand on their own. Strengthening all 3 means building a more sustainable and equitable community where people can afford to survive or thrive, not just survive. Together, I believe we can build a community that takes care of its own. We can expand year-round housing, improve public transportation, and protect our coastline and wetlands. We can do more to ensure that the people who make up this town, from Cape Cod RTA drivers, retail workers, nurses, first responders, can afford to stay where they work and where they are raising their businesses and families. I'm running for town council because I believe in a government that listens, that is created of the working people and by the working people for the working people. I'm proud of where I come from, and I'll bring the same grit, determination, and working perspective that I've shown throughout my life to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Barry Scheingold.
Good afternoon. I'm Barry Scheingold. I live in Marston's Mills and serve as chair of the town's Infrastructure and Energy Committee. I'm running for several reasons. The water quality of our lakes and ponds is very important to me, and I would like to serve to see that it is protected. This includes Mystic Lake, where I swim and kayak, and Long Pond. We need to do a better job dealing with the cyanobacteria problem. We need to work on finding solutions. There are other issues that animate me. Housing, which is a town-wide issue. We need housing for year-round residents that is affordable, works within environmental constraints, and that fits into our community. We need improved maintenance on our roads, about half of which are considered private roads. Second, the town council, like much of the country, is deeply polarized. I want to improve that by promoting civility. Here's a bit about my background. I'm retired with decades of experience as a lawyer, business person, and consultant, working mostly in the energy and environmental field. I've served as a board chair for a nonprofit serving over 160 developmentally disabled adults. Much of my work has focused on achieving consensus, or at least finding a way forward that addresses multiple concerns and interests. I'm fact and analysis driven, and I will listen to my constituents. I recognize that it is important to listen and represent both those, listen to and represent both those who are in the room and those who are not in the room. My work for the town has demonstrated that I can be effective. My committee sponsored a workshop on the Stretch Building Energy Code and Green Communities designation, which months later was followed by passage of the Stretch Code. I believe that with my experience and commitment to promoting civility, I can help town council be more effective in finding solutions to our challenges.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the question and answer portion of our forum. I will alternate the order of who gets to answer first. And candidates, please let me know if you need for me to repeat a question. You have 2 minutes, and we will start with Nelson Andrews, and then go to Megan Mort, and then Barry Scheingold. Okay, first question from the room. Affordable housing is a signature concern for our workforce, as you've all mentioned. So what are some of your ideas to address the housing crisis? And we'll start with Nelson Andrews.
Yes, thank you. Yes, affordable housing is definitely an issue. Did you say this was specifically to our workforce? Was that how the question was asked?
That is the question, yes, workforce.
All right. So, I mean, if you think of workforce in general, it's going to differ, right? I mean, you got workforce for like Megan's staff who may work at a hospital, or, some others who may work, I don't know, in a nursing home facility or in the construction field. So workforce in general is going to be, it's going to be kind of vague, right? So I would say that, if you have say, let's take the hospital, for example. It's not my wheelhouse, but, building new, say, apartments or residential places for the folks that work there to live, right? If you look at neighborhoods that are, near a construction zone, then you would, say, go ahead and try to build temporary structure there, for the workers. It depends on, it's going to be a hypothetical, and it's going to be dependent on the type of workforce we're talking about. But obviously, the workforce, depending, on the type, would need, places to reside as well, just as we all would, So, there you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Megan Mort.
I think when I hear workforce, I think people I am workforce. It's not just part-time, it's not just seasonal, it's full-time year-round people that need housing. To that end, I would want to finally have Appendix Q of the building code promulgated. It's something I've been advocating for since roughly 2017. I've spoken to multiple representatives of it. It is, right now, it's in the building code, but it hasn't been written. It was approved by the legislature, and it's up to each municipality to enact it. When I was on the housing committee, I helped write a letter to endorse that in the building code, and it's the 10th edition, I believe, now that we're in. So I'd want to see that actually happen. And Appendix Q is tiny homes. So it's homes that are 400 square feet or less, and it is building safety standards for homes that are 400 square feet or less. And it sounds small, but I can tell you from experience that you can make a home in 200 to 400 square feet, obviously depending on family size, but done it, lived in it. So that's part of it. And the other part is using existing properties like the Cascade Motel that's currently being developed. There was a plan for some of the hotels further down the street. I'd have to look up the exact address to tell you, but I think that was either abandoned or put on the back burner. I'd want to look at things like that to rehab those properties and bring them back for year-round workers.
Thank you. Barry Scheingold.
Yes, I agree that the lack of housing for year-round residents, including our nurses, teachers, and emergency responders, is a big issue, and housing that's affordable. So I think to some extent it's a supply and demand problem. There just isn't the supply for the demand. and also that the housing needs to be affordable. And there's sort of, I think, classes of affordable. One is under 40B, there's a mandate to have 10% of housing being affordable, and we're about 700 units short of that. And being short gives developers the ability to avoid local rules that are protective of local interests. So I think it's in the interest of the town to see if we can close that gap there. I'd like to say there's things that you can do affirmatively, but there are things that are really negative to that, which you should try to avoid. So I don't support a building moratorium in Hyannis, which I think would be a negative for people who need housing. And I'm concerned also about the impact of that on the town's finances. So there are some things that we can do to help make housing more affordable, and by bringing more housing into the market for full-time residents, and that's through changes in our tax structure, such as increasing the residential property tax exemption from 25% to 35%. That would reduce full-time residents' tax bills by hundreds of dollars, shifting the burden mostly to vacation homeowners. But you know, I do think there's an area where we need to work together to find solutions that meet a variety of competing objectives. More housing that people can afford, including 40B housing that fits into the community and is consistent with environmental constraints. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question, Megan Mort will go first, Barry Scheingold will go second, and Nelson Andrews will go third. So the second question is, what makes Barnstable Barnstable? How will you maintain and sustain what makes us special? So, Megan?
I think that's kind of a personal question. Barnstable means something different for everyone that I know. For me, Barnstable is where I grew up. I graduated from Barnstable High School. To me, it means keeping the community together. It means housing attainability, not just affordability. It means that we keep things open to the residents. It means taking care of our beaches. It means more, to me, more public transportation, more access between villages to each other, and tying the villages together. I've never been asked that question. So it's just, as somebody that was born and raised here, I've been fighting my whole life to stay here. It's hard to put that into words. I love where I've grown up. It's someplace I hope to be able to keep raising my son. I know I hear a lot of people talk, or not a lot. I hear comments about like Brockton by the Sea and Hyannis, and we're talking about Marston's Mills, but it's like, I've never felt unsafe in any of our neighborhoods, and I would hope to continue that. I've lived in a lot of areas on the Cape Cod. I've lived from Wareham to Wellfleet, and I've never felt unsafe. I've lived on Oak Neck Road. I've lived in a trailer. I've lived in an in-law apartment, and I've never felt unsafe. So I would hope to kind of keep that going for kids going forward. And when I was younger, we had more places to hang out, and I know that's kind of a bad term now, but I feel like we need more places to hang out. The skate park, concert venues, places where we can all come together, where our kids come together, parents talk. That's the kind of community that Barnstable means to me. That's what it looks like to me.
Thank you. Barry Scheingold.
What Barnstable means to me, I didn't grow up here, but I chose to live here, and I did it for the quality of life. We decided to live near a lake. I'm a swimmer, so I'm very concerned about the water quality. So we've seen a cyanobacteria problem. The town, I think, has done a good job on focusing on the nitrogen problem that affects our estuaries. We're doing a lot of work with sewering. Marston's Mills is an area where either we're stage 3 or phase 3 in the sewering, which is they'll get to it in 20 to 30 years, or not at all, which is where I live. And so I think there needs to be a focus on the quality of our water in our lakes and ponds. That's one thing. Another thing, I love some of the things that Barnstable offers. I do shellfishing. I like the sense of community. So we live in a neighborhood. We have a homeowners association. I'm active in that. So I think it's important that we come together and act as a community, both within our villages, but also in the town as a whole. And I hope to help to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nelson Andrews.
Thank you. Can you repeat the question?
Of course. What makes Barnstable Barnstable? How will you maintain and sustain what makes us special?
Sure. I guess I'll start off with what makes Barnstable Barnstable, and it is a personal type of question. It's going to mean something different to everyone. For me, it's definitely deep roots, right? When I think of Barnstable, I think of literally, I think of my ancestors, being here well before the first ship landed in 1613, right? And then 7 years later when the Mayflower landed, I mean, my ancestors' bones are buried pretty much literally under the majority of this area. And to have that deep connection, it's something I've always known, right? Running through the woods of Mashpee, Barnstable, Hyannis, as a kid, riding dirt bikes, through the trails in Sandwich. I mean, the whole community around here, it's all the same. We look at it, these villages, and it's like such small little slivers of precincts of land that was once a whole mass, right? So it's hard to break it down into that context of one little section or precinct when it's literally all the same land. It was, literally all of our land, right? But now that we've moved forward, and now we have to take care of it and sustain it. Barnstable means going to the beaches with my family, right? Raising my sons here, so they could go on to Ivy League schools, right? I mean, the Barnstable high school system itself as a public school system is amazing. I mean, if you think about how many children have gone from there onto higher education, right? How can we sustain it? Like everything that's pretty much set up here, make sure that we address all the concerns with, overpopulating does have its downfalls as well, right? Obviously, with the cyanobacteria levels in the waters that we see and what we're dealing with, right? But we do need affordable housing. We do need places for the seasonal workers and the year-round residents to live as well. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, third question, we'll start with Barry Scheingold, we'll go to Nelson Andrews, and then we'll go to Megan Mort. So the third question is, what is your position on budget overrides and debt exclusions for our funding needs?
Well, I think we have to take a close look at it, and if we have to have an override or a debt exclusion, we should feel confident that it's necessary, first of all. And that takes some scrutiny, and I think I would rely to a large degree on our finance director, and we have an advisory committee on finances as well. I think that's a difficult issue. I think that's something that I could only make a decision on when it comes before me and I see the facts and the analysis behind it. And also, it's important to recognize that the final decision is not made by the town council, but is made by the voters. So I think that's my point of view on that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Nelson Andrews.
Yeah, so my previous experience, as a director for the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, we would handle millions of dollars through my department, millions of dollars in grants that I wrote on my own. So each department is set up almost like a small municipality like in this town. So I think it would be very similar, right? Barnstable the Barnstable Town Council budget, if it came before us, as Barry said, we probably would only have so much input into that. But from my understanding, the finance director or, the person in charge of, or persons in charge of that department would be the ones handling, any of the budget concerns or, or overrides or anything like that. But if something like that were to come, say, before council and it was up to us to decide upon, then we'd obviously have to look at it in the most frugal manner. If we're talking about debt exclusions, all right, well, how are we going to replace that debt exclusion, right? Funding needs are going to vary, right? They're going to be different for, for every situation and scenario. So without actually having a real scenario in front of me, it's hard to address it any more specifically. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Megan Mort.
I would kind of echo some of the same sentiments. Without actually knowing what it's for, it's hard to say whether I would support any kind of measure. I would have to rely on the data in front of me. How urgent is this? Like, do we have time to look further down the road? Like, what else is there for us before we do something like that? And what I like about Barnstable and the town government here is we have a lot of staff and some very good staff to work with to help provide background information and data for these types of decisions if it were to come before town council for any kind of support.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so the next question, Nelson Andrews will answer first, Megan Mort second, and Barry Scheingold third. And the question is, from your careers and experience, how will that help you to be a great town councilor? Nelson Andrews.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate the question. So, as mentioned, during my introduction, my previous career spanned from after starting off with Hurricane Katrina, right? Started off with FEMA, became a director on the national team. The administrator of FEMA, Deanne Criswell, at the time was my team lead. I mean, I was at the highest level that you could get in the federal government, right? Responding to the most catastrophic incidents in the country at that time. And also coming up with, plans and scenarios of how we would, meet the worst case scenarios needs for Americans, right, across the entire country. So with the staff that I had underneath within my position for that career, I've learned how to manage crises in a very systematic and methodical manner. I've seen the worst things that that you could ever imagine, and I've helped others recover and get through that. And your staff is there alongside you. And as a director, and depending on the various scenario, when you have staff that are suffering, you have to be the one that literally takes a lot of that on you. So I would utilize a lot of that, the real world experience from national level emergency management experience as a director to a tribal council member for Mashpee, dealing with close-knit family drama in a way, internally, right, and a real council setting level, and also as a director for the tribe, and also a chairman on a national level committee that supports the majority of tribes in this country as well. So I have a lot of experience that could definitely be used for town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Megan Mort.
Could you repeat the question?
Of course. From your careers and experience, how will that help you to be a great town councilor?
Oh, I think that being a town councilor means connecting with the people that you basically come from and you're in front of. I have worked in a wide variety of interests, certainly not FEMA, but I've worked in the restaurant industry, I've worked at farms, I've done house cleaning, and I was a CNA for 10 years, an LPN for 10 years, and an RN. I have seen people at their worst and at their best, and I've had to play an odd role sometimes, whether it's some kitchen crisis, to telling somebody what's happening while their family member is having an active cardiac arrest. I've had to make phone calls that I wouldn't ever really want to make, telling families that their loved one is not going to be here for very long. I've worked in healthcare from corrections to substance use, hospital. I've spanned some from the homeless to people that are heavy donors at Cape Cod Hospital. I've met everybody in the middle. And I think that's where a lot of my strength comes from, is navigating those different paths that people are taking at that moment and trying to be my best for them and help them to where they need to be. And I think that's where most of my strength would come from.
Thank you. And Barry Scheingold?
Yes, well, I do have a lot of experience.
Would you? Thank you. Sorry.
I do have a lot of experience, and I have a lot of experience doing some complex things. Part of my career, I was involved in putting together complex transactions with multiple parties. One, it took me 2 years to achieve, and when I started it, there were 108 different tasks that had to be done. So you had to work with a lot of different people, so I think I was pretty good at that. Another thing I did later in my career was overseeing competitive bidding processes for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and for other states, working with utilities, government agencies, and dealing with the people who are in the room and the people who aren't in the room, which are consumers and bidders. And so sometimes there were some significant differences of opinion, trying to get people to go in the same path, or even where the differences were irreconcilable, figuring a way we could go forward. I've been a committee chair. I chair the town's infrastructure and energy committee, and I've mentioned before starting a process where our committee was really not working in the same direction. We focused on the stretch code and green communities designation, and over a period of about a year, we had a workshop resulted in passage of the stretch code. I have served as board chair of a nonprofit serving developmentally disabled adults, and over my tenure there, the major challenge there was dealing with regulatory mandates, which we were able to do successfully. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Megan Mort, then Nelson Andrews, and then Barry Scheingold. The question is this: how would you vote if given the chance to purchase the Baxter's property in the Hyannis Harbor? Please explain your thought process.
I think I'd have to look at what it's currently like, look at what the current situation with that is. I honestly don't know. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I would vote to purchase it outright. I mean, what for, I guess. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that, but that's kind of part of the job, is looking into things like this and doing our best and listening to the people in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nelson Andrews.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It almost sounds like a loaded question, right? I mean, because I would have no clue, right? How would I know how to answer that, right? I don't have any background information on Baxter's, but what I would do is use a strategic approach to, as we would with any vote, if it comes before the table. We're going to do our research and our due diligence and look into the issue and see, why we would want to purchase it, how much it's for, check the budgeting, see if it's of any real value, if it even pertains to something we would entertain, et cetera. But yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Barry Scheingold?
I will have to echo Megan and Nelson here, because I'm really not very knowledgeable about this. But, other than what they've said, what I would add to it is to look at that in the context of facing an override, Proposition 2.5, or debt exclusion. So if we're up against that, I think that's another thing that I think should be considered as well. But I would do my due diligence. I have a lot of commercial background as a lawyer as well. So that would be my approach on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next question, it'll be Nelson Andrews first, Barry Scheingold second. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I did Barry Scheingold. So I'm trying to keep up. Okay, for the next one, it'll be Nelson Andrews first, it'll be Barry Scheingold second, and it'll be Megan Mort third. With many issues such as school assessment, sidewalk and road repair, wastewater, multiple family dwellings coming before the select board, how do you or how would you prepare for these meetings?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So it sounds like, so we're asking in regards to basic municipal issues that could, pertain to many different, an array of many different things, right? Issues such as, you said, school, sewer, water, like all the issues that,
Yeah,
could.
and even Baxter's property.
Okay,
which
right,
we don't know
so-
which we don't know anything about.
Right. So each issue is going to be its own issue, right? Everything is going to be completely different, and you'd have to focus on every issue specifically on what it is. So basically, what you would do and what we would do as a town council, or however it comes before us, is you sit there and you're going to examine and do your due diligence, do your research before you can even address it. You'd have to look a little deeper into what these issues are specifically. But it sounds like you named a litany of many different types of issues and scenarios. So each one would have to be handled streamlined in its own special way, in a unique manner. And it's really hard without any more information. But
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Barry Scheingold?
Well, I would do something very similar to Nelson. I'd do my research. I would ask questions of the staff as appropriate, do my due diligence, and I would talk to people outside of the town government as well. So for example, I've talked about problems in the lakes and ponds and the cyanobacteria problem. I've had meetings in addition to the Department of Public Works with the Association for the Preservation of Cape Cod and the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition. I'd be asking what their opinions are, what their advice is. So I would take a broad look at this in preparing myself for dealing, with a panoply of issues that are before us.
Okay. Megan Mort.
I think it's for all of that. You'd be looking at the background information we have, what's the most up-to-date information, working with the CWMP, the ZBA, historic. I can't remember all of the things that were on the card, but I think many of those committees and subcommittees kind of touch on that, as well as town staff. The other component of that is talking with stakeholders, especially when it comes to, again, transportation, housing. All of that is talking to the people that it would affect the most, that it would benefit the most, that would be hurt the most by any of these decisions. So again, just research and looking at what we've done so far, what worked, what didn't, and how can we improve on that.
Okay, thank you. The next question, we'll start with Barry Scheingold, we'll go to Megan Mort, and then to Nelson Andrews. So this might be a little easier, being that we gave all this out. List the top 3 issues you believe the town faces today. The top 3 issues.
Well, I think generally our environment, and there are subsets of that, which include our lakes and ponds, the sewering project, the estuaries, climate change and climate resiliency. So I would put that in one bucket. Now that I regret it, because I probably would need another issue or two. I have to get to 3 here. So probably number 2 would be housing. And I think an issue that certainly in our neck of the woods that's important is roads. We have half of the roads roughly in the town are private roads. We've had a problem with maintenance of roads. Roads, you're on a private road, you need 51% of the abutters to get the town to repave it, which is a problem, and a lot of the roads just deteriorate. There are other main roads that have taken years and years to get repaved, like Old Mill Road and School Street. That is, the town council voted last year to do that. It's going to start soon, and I think in earnest in the spring. But those are, I would say, three major issues and that I think the town is facing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Megan Mort.
I think the three biggest issues we face in the town of Barnstable would be housing attainability, sewering, because that directly affects housing availability and attainability. It's hard to divide them up because to me, housing, sewering, and environmental resiliency all kind of go together. And public transportation and public health.
Okay, thank you. Nelson Andrews.
Yes, thank you. Top three for me would be first would be coastlines, making sure that our beaches and our coastlines are more prepared for any type of climate impacts. Right. As you know, we have if you look at even like some of the erosion that has taken place over the years. All the way from Mashpee, up to Craigville Beach, right? I mean, the parking lot where the parking lots used to be, they're pushed back, like dramatically, right? So how do you address that? How do you address the coastal issues, right? The climate impacts, things that not too many folks even want to think about or talk about. So climate resiliency, coastal impacts would be number one. Two, I would say everything what we've been discussing up here: housing affordability, housing sustainability for working families, right? How do you meet those needs and the goals of the folks that live here year round and have to work here but can't afford to live here, right? Have to drive over the bridge just to to have a job here. And public safety and emergency preparedness would be another one as well. When I was on the Barnstable County Incident Management team, we were working out of the old jailhouse over there, right? I mean, a lot of the staff that have to go out and respond, to the public and on their worst days, right? In these worst case scenarios, don't have the means or the needs. The funding is not adequate from what I've seen in the past for the public safety and the emergency preparedness needs. And I would like to use some of my expertise to see how I can further better that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question, it will be Megan Mort first, it will be Barry Scheingold second, and it will be Nelson Andrews third. The Hyannis, aka Barnstable water system, is searching for a new well. Would you embrace a new well to service Hyannis in Marston Mills? So, Megan.
I think there's a lot of research to do on that. I know I keep saying that, but if it can be done and if it can be done well, if it can benefit other villages, then why not? Again, that's saying it without having any kind of background or research in that. But yeah, just like many other things in the town of Hyannis, I feel like a lot of burdens are over-concentrated in Hyannis. That's housing, that's medical services especially. So if those resources can be expanded and can reach more people outside of the town of Hyannis, sure. And I think that's where public transportation plays a big role too. I think we're vastly or underfunded. And I've taken the bus, and it takes a long time, and it doesn't always go. It depends on weekends, nights, hours. So that, it affects everything. So yeah, vaguely, without any background, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Barry Scheingold.
Well, I would be open to it, but here are some of the issues that I think would be presented. We've got 5 water districts. Hyannis is one. We have the Calm Water District where we are, Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills. So you're working across districts. One question I would have, what would that do to the quality of service within the Calm District? Whether that can be adequately done, given the future needs that we have in the Calm District. And what would be the financial arrangements between the different districts? I don't know what the precedent is for doing this, if there is one at all. But I think there's a lot of issues that would need to be worked out. But I'm generally open to the idea.
Okay, thank you. And Nelson Andrews.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Of course. The Hyannis, AKA Barnstable water system, is searching for a new well. Would you embrace a new well to service Hyannis in Marston Mills?
Potentially. I mean, we'd have to look into it, right? So a well to support Hyannis in Marston's Mills, I mean, what would that look like? Where would it go? How would this get paid for? What's the budget? What is, like there's a lot more questions than answers on this one, right? I mean, yeah, potentially. I would need some more information on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question, we'll start with Barry Scheingold, we'll go to Nelson Andrews, and then to Megan Mort. Lots about Marston Mills. What are your thoughts or uses for the town-owned Marston Mills school property?
Okay, that's me.
That is you.
All right. So, just a little background. So there's a 14-acre site of the old Marston's Mills Elementary School in Marston's Mills Village. The school has been demolished. It's town-owned property, which gives the town considerable flexibility in what to do with the property. There's been early-stage design alternatives presented that have received substantial public input. The key question is whether the site should be for recreation only or a combination of recreation and housing. My view is the town needs to address where to go with this, and I support recreational use, and I am open to housing being a part of it. So just a little background, the planning department presented 3 conceptual designs: recreation only, recreation with single-family houses, and recreation with townhouses. It seems that the great majority of the immediate neighborhood are for recreation only, yet there's a demand for housing, including affordable housing, in the town at large. The amount of housing presented in the 2 designs with housing were about 20 units. And many who are not in the immediate neighborhood support some housing at the site. So there's a consensus that recreation of some sort be at least part of the project. And the matter came before the town council earlier this year. And while this is at an early stage of consideration, several town council members expressed support for some housing at the site. Some suggested several changes to the conceptual designs, and many stated the need for further review and development of options at the staff level. I would suggest that the town council address this early next year to determine a way forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Nelson Andrews?
Yeah, thank you. So there's one thing you can't get back more of, and that's land. So I would be open to not using it for anything. Let's try to conserve as much land, the limited amount of land that's left here, right, on the Cape Cod. I think my ancestors would say the same thing. Let's utilize it maybe for a nice park or something that really doesn't deteriorate, the process of digging it up more. Maybe restore it back to its natural habitat and make a nice park where people can walk around and, I don't know, walk their dogs or something, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Mort.
This is something that I've actually talked about several times with several counselors over many years, and I think there was an RFP for projects put out back in 2016, maybe earlier. I am in support of recreation with some housing. I've seen the 3 proposals. I'm not really in favor of single-family homes on the site. I think that just promotes further sprawl and negatively impacts the environment. What I would love to have seen on it is a tiny home village. I think that would be the perfect place for an opportunity for home ownership, an opportunity for public space, for families. It screams that to me. I think it's unfortunate that we're looking at some multifamily units at this point with the housing crisis we have, then yeah, if those are just the 3 in front of us, then sure. But I'd love to see more ideas and more proposals. I think there's a great spot for another community garden. We have one in Marston's Mills, but why not another? There's more spot for recreational fields. It's great for families and their children. The library's right there. The church is right there. There's little shops right there. There's a restaurant. I mean, it would be ideal for a tiny home village. I just would love for that to be a conversation in the future, and that's a big part of why I really want Appendix Q promulgated in the building code. It's perfect. It's also right on public transportation. You wouldn't even necessarily need a car. Create a cutout for a bus, not blocking traffic, and it's right there. So to me, that would be my ideal. So I guess to answer the question, recreation with some housing.
Thank you. The next question is, with a sizable workforce immigrant population, how should the town council deal and or assist our immigrant neighbors? Oh, I'm sorry, and that should be Nelson Andrews first, Megan Mort second, and Barry Scheingold third.
So now we're going to touch like political nerves, right? I mean, this is something that's being dealt with on a national level. So I mean, it divides, right? I mean, you have, if you're going to, like, this is a nonpartisan type of seat, so I'm not sure we would literally be handling this type of situation. I mean, in this, who handles this type of situation, right? ICE, right now, right? This is an issue that's handled by the Republicans at this time. So we're not going to speak of either side, though. I mean, as far as the I can only speak as far as if somebody's a hardworking individual and they're here and they're doing their job legally, and what's the issue? I really don't think this is gonna come before us, and it wouldn't be my point or stance to really address that. And if it did, and if I was on council, then probably have the same stance, but we would address it at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Megan Mort?
I would echo many of the same thoughts with a little bit more nuance. The question was to support the immigration population?
Deal or support?
I think most of that
Assist.
comes down to public health.
Assist.
So a community is only as healthy as the people in it. So to me, that means making sure that healthcare is accessible, attainable. For a lot of the immigrant population, that means emergency care. So that means staffing our hospitals. That means, especially for schools, it means making sure we are staffing our schools, that these children have an opportunity to learn that is equal to all of the kids in the school. I guess maybe that could come down to funding for teachers, and I'm always going to vote in support of funding for teachers, regardless of whether somebody is here as an immigrant or not. So I can't see how that would come before town council on a deal with or support basis, because I would support anybody in this community. I'm surrounded by immigrants at work. I work with people who are from a wide variety of other countries, some of whom unfortunately are a little bit afraid to go home right now. But I don't know, we've worked alongside immigrants, I think all of us, our whole lives. I'd support them the same way we are now, if not however we could, wherever the opportunity presents itself. So that's, I think, how I would answer that question.
Okay, thank you. And Barry Scheingold.
Could you repeat the
Yes.
question again? I
Yes.
just want to make sure I understand it.
Sure. With a sizable workforce immigrant population, how should the town council deal and or assist our immigrant neighbors?
Well, I think, first of all, just treating them on a non-discriminatory basis. They're members of our community. There are issues in terms of Nelson mentioned, ICE, and so I think as a town we want to act within what our legal rights and responsibilities and obligations are. But I wouldn't want to see the town supporting helping ICE to imprison and deport people who are law-abiding citizens.
Okay, thank you. This might take some of your closing statement, but I'll ask it. It says, what motivated you to run for elected office? Why now? Oh, and that's Megan goes first, and Nelson Andrews goes second, and Barry Scheingold goes third. What motivated you to run for elected office, and why now?
So I've thought about it for a while. I've thought about it back in 2016. But a big part of what motivates me, what I see on the town council, is I want more of a working family perspective on the council. I want more of our 9 to 5, or in my case, 7P to 7A workers represented on the town council, and I want those considerations taken into perspective. I've voiced that before. I've voiced that as a member of the housing committee. Our son was assisted off the bus by a neighbor. Like, a lot of working families don't have the time to be here, to be present. They have to catch up. And I want to be a voice for working people on this council. That's a big part of my motivation. The why now? Well, Paul is not running for re-election. That's part of my decision-making process. And the other part is, when the building moratorium came up, I was a bit gobsmacked by that. It wasn't really workshopped. There were, I think, 2 to 3 weeks between meetings, or a workshop that was held at 10:30 at night, I think. So there really wasn't any public outreach aside from it being on agenda 2 days before it was heard before the town council. So that kind of pushed me a little over the edge of something that I'd been thinking of for a long time. I am absolutely opposed to a building moratorium. I want to be able to support single-family property owners. I want people to be able to build in-law apartments where needed, if necessary. And I want our small businesses to be able to expand if they feel that that's necessary and that's something they want to do. So I want to be a voice of working people, and I want people to be able to live here, work here, and thrive here.
Thank you. So, Nelson Andrews?
Yes. I've always had a passion to serve. I mean, that's literally the reason I started off, working for the Federal Emergency Management Agency after Katrina, to help others in need. My passion to serve has led me to being here now. I ran for tribal council for Mashpee for the same reasons. I've stood on and been part of many national committees and boards, and worked my way up to the chairman of those committees because I care, because I want to help the community. So also, I feel that my people, the Wampanoag, we need a voice at the table as well. I mean, think about where we are, right? We are in Barnstable, we're on Cape Cod, and if elected, I'd be the second ever Wampanoag representative, Wampanoag tribal member, to be on the seat. Not saying this is about, different races or this or that, but it's more about history. It's about my people, and it's also about, being good stewards of the land. As I mentioned before, this land it's in my soul. It's inbred within me from long before I was born, right? So I have a deep passion for things and issues that affect the community where I raised my sons, and the neighborhood I live in, but also on the lands of where my ancestors once resided as well, and where they still live with us. So I've been inspired my whole life to do public service, and here I am, right? So thank you.
Thank you. Barry Scheingold.
Well, first of all, there was basically an open spot with the incumbent having decided not to run for re-election. That was one thing. But also, like Nelson, I'm very devoted to public service. I'm particularly concerned about the environment. I've mentioned the cyanobacteria blooms in our lakes and ponds, and that's really exacerbated by climate change. And so, this has been a concern of mine for a number of years. There are other issues with the town. I've been a volunteer. I started on a committee and then became its chair. So I've been actively involved. I've also been involved in, I think, roads issues as well. And this is sort of taking it to another level. And finally, I think it's important. I want to improve the level of discourse. I want to focus on the issues, on the merits of the issues, get away from personal attacks. And I think that'll be important to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank the audience. I've got more questions than I have time for, so we're going to get down to our last question, but thank you so much for these questions. The final question, well, not, it's the last question. What ideas do you have for new revenue? Oh, I forgot. Nelson Andrews first, Barry Scheingold second, and Megan Mort third. So Nelson Andrews, what ideas do you have for new revenue?
Thank you for the question. So I previously had served on the Mashpee Chamber of Commerce as well. So a lot of our initiatives were involved fundraising. So one of the things that we did in the Mashpee Chamber of Commerce was an annual golf tournament, right? So seeing where we are in Barnstable, with surrounded by golf courses, things like that, a golf tournament is a great way, a good fundraiser to earn revenue. But where we are on the coast as well, there's a lot of revenue out there on that water, right? I mean, if we look at what our tribe has been trying to build for a while is an oyster farm, and I see Miss Chris Clark in the audience, and she can attest to having an oyster farm, like things like that. Anything that involves the shell fishing, the fishing, but also water sports industries. I mean, if you have boats that can be rented out, right? Large scale tourism attractions, anything tourist related on Cape Cod is going to bring in your economic revenue. If you look at the amount that Cape Cod swells in population just in the 3 months of the summer alone, it's by 300%, right? So there you go, right? You have all these folks that are here that want to have a good time, want to spend money. Hotel industry, water sports industry, fishing industry, water sports industry, and fundraising opportunities as well. Some options. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Barry Scheingold.
Well, I think one source of revenues is really state grants and federal grants, and maybe now the focus probably should be on state grants because federal grants are shrinking. But I think that's important. I think generally from what I've seen, the town generally does a good job with that, but could be better. I think I mentioned the Green Communities Program is a way that the town will get additional funds from the state to do energy efficiency projects for municipal buildings primarily. And so it's kind of a twofer because you get some additional revenues, but also investing in energy efficiency, you have decreasing energy costs over time. So that's something that is in process, but I think will be accomplished within the next 6 months or so. I think Nelson had some other ideas. I don't know from a tax standpoint whether there's the ability to tax more of vacation, hotel stays, and B&B. But those are some of the things that I would look into. And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you. And then Megan Mort.
I think I would echo some of the comments about ecotourism. It might sound absurd, and maybe it's just me, maybe I don't know enough, but I would pay good money to go cage diving with sharks. It's big in Africa and Australia, why not here? So just throwing it out there. The other thing is real estate. Second and third homes are a big problem. Second homes are 33% of Cape Cod's homes, and that's a huge portion. So I think that's something to look at. The other thing within the town of Barnstable is a cannabis overlay district. Right now, if you If you use marijuana or smoke cannabis, then you have to go to Sandwich or Beyond to Dennis, and it's why not here? So in the meantime, people are leaving the town of Barnstable, and that's something that we could have right here, and it's something that's already been discussed. So I would look further into that and work with our town and town staff to see how else can we increase revenue, especially with all the things that I think need to be funded: housing, public transportation, and public health. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to our closing statements, which, timekeepers, it's now 1.5 minutes, okay? And we're doing it in reverse alphabetical order, so we'll start with Barry Scheingold.
First of all, I'd like to say that I think you have 3 good candidates here. But I'd like to talk about why I would be maybe a particularly good choice for town council for Precinct 12. I'm mature. I have a lot of relevant experience. I will work hard to represent you, your interests and concerns. I'm retired, and I have the desire, time, and energy to devote to public service. I will aim to address important challenges. Our quality, especially in our lakes and ponds, so we can swim, fish, and boat, as we should. Our town's housing needs for year-round residents, consistent with affordability, environmental protection, and community character, keeping our roads safe and well-maintained. We need to work within our financial constraints and should look at ways we can adjust our tax structure to lessen the load on full-time residents. I will aim to promote civility by leading by example. We may have different opinions, but let's treat each other with respect. I will work collaboratively with others, and I will be there as appropriate for those who are not in the room, as well as those who are in the room. By addressing important challenges, acting respectfully, and working collaboratively, I will use what I've learned from my experience to help us find solutions together. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Megan Mort.
Oh, I agree with Barry. I think I would not have a problem voting for any of us, especially me. So I was born and raised here. I grew up here. My family grew up here. My husband, same thing. My son. I am of this community, and I think I stand here as proof of what happens when people are invested in. I graduated in 2005 from the CNA program due to a grant that helped me. I got my RN through Mass Educate, and that's another investment in people, and that's kind of what I want to do as a town councilor, is invest in the people here and help them survive. I've been through quite a lot, and I think that provides a good backdrop for meeting the people where they are. I also go back to healthcare. I look at Maslow's. Like, we can't worry about things at the top of that triangle when we're worrying about basic survival, about housing, about food, about jobs. So I think as a town councilor, coming from that perspective, it's like working from the bottom on up, from surviving to thriving, and that's where I hope to meet people and work with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nelson Andrews.
Yes, thank you. And I'll echo both Barry and Megan's sentiments. I would also vote for either of them, but this time I might vote for myself. But so as mentioned earlier, as I built the emergency management department for the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, I was able to go through a lot of complex issues, right? Like getting us through COVID-19, an entire tribal nation, writing these millions of dollars in funding opportunities, but it also afforded the tribe a seat on the Barnstable County Incident Management Team. So that's where I learned that cohesive collaboration effort, right? Our most recent office, the one that I helped establish, is actually in the neighboring town of Forestdale. So I understand the need, right, for interjurisdictional collaboration, and I would definitely want to bring forward, the connection, right, between the tribe and with the county, but also I understand the federal, municipal, and state levels of things. Beyond public service, I'm a family man, I'm a person of faith, and an artist. So I believe in the power of culture, creativity, and community to bring people together. And that's what we're doing right now even, right? We're bringing people together, we're working together. As I mentioned, 20 years of public service was literally for the effect of helping others. Lay down your life for your neighbor, whoever it is, right? That's always been my mentality. So I'd be honored to earn your support. Katapatish, thank you.
Thank you. Let's give the candidates a round of applause. I would like to close this forum by thanking all the candidates for choosing to run and for their participation in our democratic process. You are running and you're giving voters the choice, and we really appreciate that. And I want to remind the audience that the town election is on Tuesday, November 4th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go to the Barnstable Town Clerk's website where you can check your polling place. And if you need a mail-in ballot, the application is on the town clerk's website. Mail-in ballot applications must be received by the town clerk's office by Tuesday, October 28th. Last day to register to vote is this Friday, October 24th. So remember to vote. Voting is your superpower. Be a hero. Thank you so much, everybody.